The whole process works really well. This is really awkward with this camera. The whole process works really well when we start talking about what we're doing. It's a whole package of things. The number one thing you need to do is get into your head that you're good at speaking and that you can do it. And that, yes, people will laugh. Yes, people are going to squirm. Yes, but that's only because they don't want to be doing it. So our biggest challenge is always us. And I know you're going, yeah, but some people are really good. It's like, you don't know how much effort they've put into getting to where they are. You don't know how many things they've done to get out of their comfort zone. I'll give you an example of my son. I always worry about my son, my oldest son. He's 25. And my oldest son is finishing a, hi, hello. Like, ladies, it's 7 minutes after 11. You're late. Come in. Yeah. Who's at the door? Is she coming in?
No, I want to.
Well, then there's still a seat, but well, just sit there, or just join. There's until the other students fill up. So back to my son. And I always worry about my son, because I'm a university professor and he's going to university. And like all the other stories I've told you, stories are true. Tell people, this is the other thing I've mentioned earlier on in this course. People want to know about you. And if you can connect with your audience through telling little nuggets about you that make you real, that make you like your audience, you win, because then they start to listen. So the job you constantly have is figuring out who your audience is, getting to know them. So and I'll get back to my son in a second, but what I always do when I'm speaking is I always come and hang out if I'm doing a professional speaking event, and I've done a few. I'll go and hang out hour before I'm speaking with all the people who are going to listen. One, I want to befriend them so that they're my friends and that they feel sorry for me getting up to speak. Two, I want to learn about them. So I want to learn, what do they do for their hobbies? What are they interested in? What have they been doing? What do they work? So I just hang around and listen. So that then when I get up, I can focus little bits of my presentation on them so that suddenly they're my friend. They go, oh yeah, he understands us. I say, I might remember someone's name. I'm terrible with names. So I would have a magic jacket. As I said, I always wear a jacket, right? You see, I've got the jacket. I'd have a Post-it note and I'd write the name down, because if I write it down, I put it in my pocket, I'm going to remember it. But if I just take someone's name, I always forget. So sorry, ladies who are off camera, Post-it notes. So it's always important to do all that and to bring these parts to what you're doing. So this is where I said you don't want to memorize your speech. Fixed beginning, fixed end, not fixed middle. And there's always the intro to the intro. I know. So you're writing this down, right? So there's always 5 parts to a speech. Introduction, conclusion. Those are pretty fixed. And then you typically have 3 points in the middle. Listen to good speeches, and you're going to hear the 3 points. The better speeches are when you know clearly that you've gone to the 3 points. The worst speeches don't have good transitions. And we'll talk about all that stuff. But the core thing is you have 5 parts to a speech. There's actually 6. The 6th part is the intro to the intro. And that's the part of the speech that happens when you say, okay, Asma's next up, and then everyone's, okay, Asma's coming up, and then Asma's coming up, and she gets to the start. She's ready, and she says, whew, I'm still pretty nervous today. That might be the intro to the intro. Did anyone else have trouble with traffic today getting here? I really didn't think I was going to make it. That might be the intro to the intro, and then you start in to your speech. It just depends, right? But typically you have, as I said, these 5 points, and you're constantly trying to work on bringing in those little bits of content that connect with your audience. Those little bits can change depending on the moment, and that's why the middle parts, and this little bit up here, is very flexible. And you know it because, and when I do a speech, don't get me wrong, It might sound just like this, and it might sound, and I say, oh, and then something comes to mind. I say, let me share this little story with you because you're really going to love it. And the people who are listening might go, wow, it just came out of nowhere. It's like, no, it didn't. The whole manner of introducing it, all planned. I knew I was going to do it. I've done it 50 times in a practice. I usually practice 38 times. It's all been in the practice, and it's all just so it goes. And it's just a show. It's just an act. It's just first time you've heard the speech. I've heard it so many times, right? Because I've been doing it. And my goal is to get the same reaction out of you that I get out of everyone who I do that speech for. They're kind of laughing, they're smiling, they're going, yeah, I get that. They're nodding their head. And when I see that inside, I'm going, nailed it again. And you might say, but don't you get bored? And that's a big question you're going to say, but I'm getting bored of the speech. Work on it then. Keep working on it more so you have some fun with it. I've been teaching at Zayed University. This is my 22nd year of teaching at ZU. I teach the same courses pretty much. I know, do that. Think about that for a second. This semester, I have 2 sections of this course. 22 years of teaching 2 sections of this course every semester. Think about that. How do I not get bored? Well, because I keep changing things up. I keep playing with it. I keep seeing your reactions to things. So let me take you back here. So you get where we're going here, right? 1, head game. This is review. We just got to play with our heads. 2, we have this typical, we have this pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, introduction, conclusion, 3 points in the middle. We might not get to the 3rd, but we always plan for it. And we know that we only have 4 minutes. So in terms of putting together your product, and I always think of speeches as a product, I always think of it that way, or a show, product or a show, think about it either way. You have a lot of control because you know what you've got to do and you know where you've got to get to. If it's 30 seconds, you need to think of the end. How does your audience know you're finished? Think about that for a second, because it's a huge, this is the huge mistake people make. And in all of your presentation, because I often have students who come and do presentations, like I teach other classes, so I'll have group projects and they do presentations, and some of them are so horrible. I mean, the content's good. Don't get me wrong, the content's good. The delivery is enough to make anyone fall asleep. I mean, it's horrible, but it's not really horrible. It's what we've been doing at ZU. So you know that presentation. 3 people get up, they plug in their computer, the computer doesn't fit, then they stand there, and then they stand in front of the screen. Then they put up the PowerPoint of whatever it is they're going to say, then they read it off a piece of paper, and then they go, and now my friend Asma is going to talk, and then Asma says, now my friend Rafia is going to talk, and then someone's clicking over here. They're horrible, like honestly. I mean, they're good, but they're not something you're going to give to people to say, here's my best work. Seldomly have I ever seen those things. They're not TED quality. Are you going to put them online and get everyone looking at it and watching it? Would you post it online? That's the question I always ask. I say to myself in my mind, would this student want this online for the rest of their life so that people could see it? And I think if you don't want to have that content online for the rest of your life so that people can see it, then don't do that. Fix it. Do it the way you want people to see it for the rest of your life. And look, I live by that. I live by that. So if you go online and you go to my website, you can see on the right-hand side speeches I've done that are there for the rest of my life. Are some of them the best speeches I've done? No. Can I live with what has been there? Absolutely. And I think that's important. So whether we're just doing this class or whether we're presenting in our classes, you want to follow everything we're doing here. It'll make your speeches better. It'll make your presentations better. And this always needs an end is something that you've experienced in your other classes. The group of 3 gets up, they do the presentation, they've got the things, it's dark, they turn off the lights, all the things, you can't see what's going on. They're reading, they read what's on there. It is what it is. That's what I call a ZU presentation. which we do not want to do. We do not want to do those anymore. Still an A, but she's people, everyone judges. And so you want to be judged as, wow, I want that woman speaking with my organization. So you always need an ending. If you don't have an ending, letting everyone know it's done, bringing it all together, you haven't done the job. Like, that's leaving a big piece of what you're doing off. It would be like buying a car without doors. Yeah, I bought a car and it's almost finished. It's almost finished, but not quite finished. You don't know. It's like, I just went and got something to eat. It's almost done. I got this nice cappuccino, but they left off the cream top. You know, when they put the cream and then they put the leaf, they just left all the cream off the top. So it's almost done, but not quite done. What do you do? It's like, yeah, it's good enough. And you're going, no, it's not good enough. And you might say, oh, okay, thank you. In your mind, you're going, that's not good enough. I got ripped off. Speaking is the same thing. You want to make sure you finish whatever it is you're doing. And that means you have a nice little conclusion. You wrap it up. No matter how short, you always need to end. And all you're going to do is, and this is kind of a neat thing, because all you're going to start doing now is listening to everyone speak in all your classes, helplines, people you get help from, students doing presentations. Listen to how they're packaging it together. Listen to what they're leaving out. Listen to, do they have an introduction? How are they concluding things? And are they doing it well? Just because someone has been doing it for years and years and years and years and years doesn't mean they do it well. It just means they keep doing it the same way that they think is okay. It doesn't mean they're doing it well. And I think, generally speaking, most people speak well. They don't necessarily speak extraordinarily. And it's not hard to speak in an extraordinary fashion. You just got to think of your audience and think of, what do they want to know? How can I organize it? How do I speak slow enough? How do I use my gestures so that they're not confusing? How do I use vocal enunciation? How do I make eye contact? You might have noticed I kind of keep looking around the class. I'm not looking at anyone. Like, honestly, I mean, I'm looking, but I'm not really looking. But I'm actively trying to go from here to here to here to here, and then back again. Here to here to here. Constantly to involve the class. Am I looking? And I kind of look up here at the front. But am I really looking at you? No, because that makes me nervous. Fortunately, I can't see your faces, because then when you have the frown on someone's face and all that, that's even worse. But your goal is always to try and connect everyone. So again, we go through all these things, and it's lots to start thinking about. But the very first part of all that comes down to simply getting you to feel comfortable with the process. Remembering that it's ultimately a show, it's ultimately an act. Because all you're doing is acting. And when you get up on the stage, you have that opportunity to be a little bit, really to be whatever you want to be. It's all you. The only thing that stops you from being the you that you want to be to do that presentation is your head. Oh, I can't do that. People are going to laugh. People are going to say, oh, I don't usually talk like that. Why do you care? You want to get an A, right? You want people to think you're awesome, right? So we have to start not caring what other people are thinking, because do we know that they're thinking that? No. But we imagine they're thinking that. Oh, they're going to say. How do you know? You don't know. But our minds play this trick, because we're all a little insecure about stuff. What if I didn't get it right? What if I make a mistake? What if? So that's where, again, as I keep saying, you've got to do physical things and you've got to do mental things. And most of you, I would say all of you, already have a set of tools that you do this for. Remember when you're going to have to tell someone that you did something wrong? Remember when you have to tell someone that you broke something? Remember you have to tell someone, oh, sorry, I can't have that homework in for you on this time. Sorry, I said I was going to go do this and I was do that. Oh yeah, I was going to go bring you this thing, but I lost it. I was going to go bring you this drink, but I drank it. Then you got to go see the person. You know they're going to be mad. You know they're going to be angry. How do you prepare yourself for that? Because no one wants to talk to someone who's going to be mad. That's what you have to do to prepare yourself for speaking. Those are the same things. So breathing, planning it out in your head. Think about how you plan out, what am I going to say? Oh, okay. And then you stand there, maybe you're in your room and you're mumbling what I'm going to say. Oh, I say, I'm really sorry. And then you figure out how you're going to look. We start doing a lot of stuff naturally. We don't even realize we're doing it. Those kind of things. And maybe you're pacing. People pace. That's a great way to relax. You're just, and they're walking and they're I don't know what I'm going to do. That's just a relaxation tool. And if you shake yourself a bit, and you ever see people before they're going to you ever watch any of the Olympics? And you see people, they're going to get up and they're going to, or footballers, you see them before, what are they doing? They're jumping around. They're doing this. What are they doing? They're getting themselves warmed up. Well, you're going to come and do an act. You're going to come and do a show. You got to get warmed up. And if that means walking up and down the hallway, doing your speech, do it. You have my permission. I do it. I was walking down the hallway listening to that music, thinking about how I'm going to start off this class. And Katya stopped me and said, what are you listening to? Then I realized, forgot to put the headphones in. That's why she can hear it. I thought maybe it was just in my ears. No, that is forgot to put the headphones in. But so you just do your thing. Do I really care? I mean, I probably care a little bit, but ultimately, all I really care about is delivering the goods and delivering them well. So, figuring out what we got to do to keep ourselves relaxed is important. I've told you the things that I do. I breathe, I do yoga stuff, I do stretching, I walk around, I replay it in my head over and over and over again, following through. If I'm writing stuff out, like for instance, this class was pretty easy. Oh, I have my 3 points that I want to talk about. So I've already got them written down. Am I saying them? 1, 2, got one left to go. So we're getting pretty close. So that kind of works. You got to be prepared. This is the other thing. So number one, working to get yourself relaxed. That only goes so far. You can go far with that. It's only going to go so far. Following the plan, very important. If you organize things the same way all the time, you know what's going to happen. Even if it's different words, you know that I have an introduction, I'm leading to a conclusion, and I have points in the middle. Different words, different subject, different things, but the same pattern, it's always going to follow. So you know where it's going to go. And if you're like me, and everything follows the same pattern, you even might use the same transitions for things. And you start reusing, and you just use the same way you use your hands and the same gestures and the same way you move. And they might correspond to time things. So if I was doing a speech and it was 4 minutes and I had 3 parts, I might start my introduction here. I might walk very slowly over here for my first point. I might walk up here for my second point. I might move back into my third point. And then for my conclusion, head to the middle of the class and get into it. And so just a little bit of movement to get me to where I want to go, but also changes the thing. And I might do that for every single speech because I'm used to that format and it just works and it's comfortable for me. So when I put the words into the thing, it's relaxing because I know that's what I'm going to do because I've done it over and over and over again. And I practice it at home too, so I can make sure in front of a mirror. So when you practice at home, don't just practice. Lock your door, put on the clothes you're going to present in, open wherever you've got a full-length mirror and do your speech in front of the mirror and watch yourself saying it. I know you're going, what? Out loud. Don't do it quiet. And put your phone on to record it so you can hear it and possibly record yourself video if you want. Every time. you're practicing. First few times, just practice. But after that, you want to see it. Practice in the washroom, no one cares. But you need to see yourself, because right now, I cannot see myself. So I don't know what I look like, except that and so we're wearing masks. So now what does that mean? It's just like we're wearing, it's like we've gone back to when our grandmothers and great grandmothers, remember, they would walk around, they'd have what do we call those? Yeah, basically we're wearing those now, right? Our masks are basically. So then how did all the communication happen? So you've got your physical body stuff, you've got your clothes, you've got your weight, and you've got your face, your eyes. Well, how do you know what your eyes are doing? I mean, you have an idea, but now you can scrunch and you can, and you can, figure out how your mask is going to look. You need to do it in front of something so you can see. How are my clothes falling? What sound do my shoes make? Which sounds silly, but it's all part of it. When you're presenting, you've all got different types of abayas. Some abayas lend themselves better for presenting, some don't. So you've got nice cuffs, I think. Yeah, that can work pretty good. Who's got an abaya on that's got a big, long piece here? Does anyone have one of those on? Sometimes those cuffs could be good too. Sometimes that can be a problem. Not that it's a bad abaya, it's just weird for, can we see gestures? And so it depends how, if you've got a big cuff, what's going to happen with my hands if I'm doing this and I'm pointing? How does the abaya work with? So it's just thinking about how that piece of clothing becomes part of your speech. And so the reason I bring that up is because you want to practice. You don't want anything as you're putting together your speech to throw you off. So that's why you want to see it. That's why you want to practice it. And you want to be able to watch what you're doing. How does that look? And look, 20 times in, you decide you're doing this and you don't like it anymore, fix it. Do something different. That's why you're practicing it, to change it. To get rid of something. Say, yeah, you know what, I don't like the sound of that. Well, fix the sentence. Or if you keep saying something and you're practicing and you can't get the words to come out of your mouth, there's too many syllables, change the sentence. Figure out, what do I have to say to make it work better? Maybe I need to make it 3 sentences instead of 1. Do it. But that's the whole point of practicing. So you get it, so it's, yeah, that's perfect. And the feel of it and all that stuff. So that's why I'm constantly. But all of that can only go so far. You really, and as I said with the practice, you have to know what you're talking about. You have to know it. If you don't know what you're talking about, nothing will save you. And now there's one thing to know what you're talking about, but remember, you've got to be able to organize what you're talking about. So even if I really know my topic, which is great, now I've got to think, okay, I've just got to make sure I organize it. Do I have a conclusion? And then can I draw into point to point to point to point? That's where you want to practice. And I don't mean you take an hour each day. You could practice walking in your car. If you drive here, you could be practicing as you're driving. You just turn on, I'm going to say my speech. Practice as you walk from the car park to the gate. There's all sorts of ways you're going to put this time in, but you need to be honest with yourself. And I think that's the other word, honesty. If we're not honest with ourselves, oh, that's hard to read. You need to be honest with yourself. Am I doing it? Have I put in the time? Am I working this? And we all know when we have and when we haven't. You hand in a paper and you think, oh, I hope I get an A. But did you really do A work? I know when I hand in a paper that's only a B or a C. It's like, oh, maybe it's going to be worth an A. But did you really do A work there? It could be, I worked hard. Yeah, but working hard and doing an A is a different thing. Just because you worked hard doesn't mean you did an A. Have I really gone above and beyond? That's the key. That's the thing. And it's not just the words, it's that whole presentation that we're playing with. Can everyone get an A? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no curve in the class. I get in trouble if everyone gets really high marks, but I'm willing to take it. And no one wants to see a whole class get A's, right? Yeah, that's not supposed to happen. I don't have a curve. I'm willing to give you all A's. Just got to give me A work. And that's extraordinary. You can do it. Even you ladies who are there. Okay. Questions? I've just been talking. What time? Maybe this will help. So this is what we're talking about. And ladies at home, you should be able to see this, right? You can see the screen. You have to put on your volume and just say, yes, we can see the screen. But I think you can see the screen. Do they see it? No, you see it, but do they see it? So Rafia, Hamda, Asma, can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. First speech that you're going to be doing is an introductory speech. Don't worry, we're going to keep doing a whole bunch of stuff. So no, I'm not throwing you out there, but I do believe in letting you know what it is you're going to do. And I think I've got the right date. The week of September 13th is when you're going to do that talk. Going to do your show. It's 4 minutes long. Introduction, 3 points, conclusion. It's an introductory speech. It's about you. You're introducing yourselves. But to help you along, the title of the speech is My 3 Life Lessons So Far. So you're going to introduce us, and you're going to introduce our, don't worry, it's also in the Blackboard, in week 2, in the Spark PowerPoint, and in the syllabus. So you're going to be doing a speech where you're introducing yourselves. Hello, my name is James, and I want to share with you my 3 life lessons so far, because those 3 life lessons give you a sense about who I am. So let's start. Lesson number 1 is so that's the way that you might do something like that. But then you've got to think, okay, what's the lesson? And remember, you only have 4 minutes. 1 minute to introduce it and conclude it. Maybe I usually say 30 seconds, 30 seconds. Could go a little more, could go a little less. 30 seconds, 30 seconds. That gives you 3 minutes in the middle to say what the lesson is, give us an idea how that lesson came about, and then get into the second thing. It's nice if you can connect them, and we'll play with that. That's called transitions. Transitioning. Some people are not good at it. Okay, my second point is, that's not a good transition, but it is a transition. Does it do the job? Yes. Is it elegant at doing it? No. Does it work? Yeah. Does it get you top marks? No. Does it work? Yes. Is it how you want to do it? No. You want to drag people through. So well, don't worry, we play with all that as well. But the important thing is September 13th, 3 life lessons so far. You're doing an introductory speech of you. That's what the speech is about. So how do you start? Right now in your head, you want to start thinking, okay, 3 life lessons. What am I going to share? What am I going to say? Keep it simple, keep it easy. You don't want to give away too much of your information. You're private people. I'm private. I only tell people stuff I want them to know. I don't tell them all the other stuff. Only some things get shared, and those are the things I don't mind people knowing. But remember, first of all, everything about you is interesting to everybody else. Everything. How'd you choose the mask? How'd you pick that book? How'd you pick your purse? How'd you pick that water? How'd you pick that phone? How'd you pick those shoes? How'd you pick your coffee? I mean, you've got to be saying, that's the most boring thing in the world. Why do I care about that coffee? Like, are you going to drink that last little bit of coffee? Why aren't you going to drink that last little bit of coffee? That right there is 3 minutes explaining why you're not going to drink that last little bit of coffee that's in there, or whatever that is. It's horrible looking, right? That's a whole speech. So the challenge you have right now is just brainstorm with yourself. And remember, you're not locked in to anything, but just start thinking, okay, well, what if I had 3 life lessons? Start writing things down to get a sense. What might those be? Just start writing them down. I think having a little book or something is a good idea. Maybe you work good digitally. I work digitally and hard copy world. I kind of like the hard copy world because I can carry that around in my pocket. I don't have my purse with me. It's in my office. I do have a purse, by the way. Everyone says it's a man bag. No, it's an outright purse. It's just small, but it's got everything in it. Yeah, it's like your things. And I have a book in there, and I'll be writing stuff down. I hope your phone's okay. I'll just write stuff down. So just write it down, and you can cross stuff off and just start brainstorming, and then you can put it together. But you need to start collecting. Don't let it wait. anytime you've got 2 minutes, just be thinking, and something's going to come to you. This is the other thing. That's why I also always keep sticky notes around, especially beside my bed. Because you wake up in the middle of the night, you have to go to the washroom. You wake up in the middle of the night, and then suddenly you got an idea. It's like, this is a great idea. And then you say, yeah, I'll remember that in the morning. And then you wake up in the morning, you can't remember what it was. It's like, what was that idea? So ideas are going to come to you in all sorts of wacky and weird times. Write it down as soon as you hear it in your head. Just write it down. Whatever you need to write down to remember, write it down. That's when I say that you're going to put in some time planning and working on things. That's part of the process because you're thinking about it, and then you're going to start saying it, you're going to start to know it, then it's just piecing it together, keeping yourself on time, reining yourself in. So your first speech, introductory, it's worth the least amount of any speech in this class, 15%. You already know what I'm looking for. It's no surprise. I'm not trying to fool you. I'm not trying to trip you up. It's not an exercise and gotcha. But be warned as we're moving through the class and as we're doing stuff, and I know you haven't talked at all this class because don't worry, you talk all next class. Be warned, after each speech, we're going to have a little bit of a debrief and we'll talk about it and that stuff. So, and maybe you'll want to have a more of a debrief, which is even better. But after we do each speech, the expectation for the next speech becomes higher. It's not, but I did that in my first speech. Yeah. And you've learned a little bit. Now I want you to be thinking even better. And then the third speech, even better. And then your final speech, it's like, compared to the first speech, the final speech is, it's like, it's a Bram sound. Right? It's called a Bram sound, if you're kind of wondering. In those movies you watch, it goes, Bram. Look it up. Right. So, yeah, good. Any questions about that so far? No? Man, this is a great class. So we got some stuff. We're going to talk about this next class. The reading that I suggest you do is here. It's this link right here, publicspeakingproject.org. If you click it, oh, there's a question. You're going to come to this page. Download it in color, download it in black and white. I do not care how you do it. I just want you to read it. You're allowed to download. It's public domain. It's just some basic ideas. They all work very well to help us understand what it is we're doing in the course. So, like I said, you don't get better at public speaking by reading, but it helps to get you thinking about the pieces that go into making what you're going to do. And so I strongly recommend you do that. Next class, we're going to be doing a little bit of an introductory thing. So as soon as we come in, we're going to warm up a little bit. We're going to talk for a couple minutes about what you do to get warmed up and how you get yourselves ready to go. Ladies who are online, you're also going to need to be involved next class. So you're going to need to turn things on and you're going to be doing this as well. And you're going to want to, this is going to be the prompt that I'm going to give you. Let me tell you about blank. And for 30 seconds, you're going to tell us about whatever that blank is. Let me tell you about why I don't finish the coffee at the bottom of my cup. For 30 seconds, which sounds like it could be easy, but for 30 to 45 seconds, that could actually be pretty hard because there's a lot to say. So you've got to really start thinking about, what am I going to say? And I need to have an end. So the ending might be, and sometimes I have the ending before I do everything. I know how I'm going to end. And that's why I leave 2 millimeters of liquid in the bottom of my cup. Yes. Absolutely. Random. Yeah. You just need to have, let me tell you about, could be shoes, could be purse, could be my day, could be my dream I had, could be the class I had, let me tell you about anything. Could be a bird, could be a dog, could be a chicken, could be a biryani, could be anything. The goal is simple. One, you need to have an ending. That is not just, I'm done. That's it. Thank you very much. It's got to be an ending. Two, no ums, ahs, or buts. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you about can't do any. If you do an ah, so we're all going to be listening because our goal is to get rid of them. And believe me, I work very hard to not do them. It's not easy. But if you slow down and you pause and you breathe, so you slow down, pause, and breathe. Slow down, pause, and breathe. Do those three things. Repetition is very good in speeches, by the way. Slow down, pause, and breathe. Slow down, pause, and breathe. Slow down, pause. And so if I do it 3 times, slow down, pause, and breathe. Slow down, pause, and breathe. Slow down, pause, and breathe. And then I go, take a breath, and I put my hand. You're in your head. You're going to go, slow down, pause, and breathe. But I'm not going to do it anymore. But now you're all right. Slow down. So what are the 3 things you got to do? Slow down, pause, and breathe. And now you're thinking, if you do that, if you slow down, you pause, and you breathe, you don't tend to do because, and you have to also recognize that you're allowed to have silence. Yeah. Oh, for September 13th, the title is My 3 Life Lessons So Far. That's the title for September 13th. Yeah. So for next class, because every class almost, usually one part of the class, we do a little bit of the lecture stuff, get us all caught up. The second class is all talking. So for next class, there's just that little prompt. Just want to get us going. And you're going to stand up. You're never going to do. So this is the other thing. Not only when you're doing a talk, should you write it out loud. I know you're thinking, what? So you've got your points, which are good. And you've done some brainstorming. But as you start putting your talk together, doing a talk in your head, never good. And I know you're thinking, what? What do you mean? You're never going to do your talk in your head. In this class, when you get up on a stage, you do the talk out loud. You don't do it in your head. The way a talk sounds in your head is not the way it sounds out loud. You need to hear the talk out loud. A, to get used to how it sounds, and B, to know what you have to fix. Because when you hear it, just like when you write a term paper and you read it out loud, then you go, oh, that sentence doesn't work. A little bit of oral editing, right? You all do this, I hope. If not, you should. So first thing is you need to work on your speech out loud. But second, you're also never going to do a speech in this class anyway, sitting down. Your speeches, when you do this next class, let me tell you about my watch with the red face. What kind of watch is that? It has a red face. It's kind of cool. Nice. So maybe you're going to talk about your watch with the red face. Let me tell you about my watch with the red face. But you're not going to do it sitting down like you're all seated here very nicely. You're going to do it standing up. You might actually do it coming up here in front of the class. Whoa, that's horrible, because suddenly you sound different in the class there than here. Sitting there, you're sitting down, you see people. Sitting here, you really see people. So it's important when to think back again to this whole process, getting relaxed. Now you're starting to think about that in terms of September 13th. You know the date. Don't wait. Sometimes people say, I'll just do it after. It's going to be easy. No, don't wait. Start playing with it. Start thinking about it. Like today, you want to work on it out loud and, quite honestly, standing up. I write almost all of my speeches standing up because I'm going to do it standing up. And I know it sounds weird. You're thinking, what? Does it really make a difference? Are you kidding? You're going to do the speech standing up. You're not going to do it in your head, and you're not going to do it sitting down. So why wouldn't you work on it standing up? And why wouldn't you work on it out loud? Because that's how it's going to be done. And I know it sounds silly, but it saves you a whole bunch of time because you're now in the zone of how you're going to do it. You're not practicing. Well, you are practicing, but you're practicing in a more realistic manner. And I don't know why, but it really works. If you do this, if you work on your speech sitting down at a desk in your head, it takes longer because you're not going to do it sitting down. So now you got to get used to standing up. And 2, you end up rewriting it because if you write it in your head, now you got to write it to say out loud. And you don't keep rewriting your speech. You write your first kind of second version of it, and then you just develop as you're going. But you have a guide for what you want to do. You've got something to start working from. So that's a big suggestion there, is that think how you're going to put it together. And it honestly works. Now, where we're going next class is you're going to be talking. We're going to give you a quick review of the sender-receiver model. And I like Laswell as well. You already know all this stuff. If you're communication students, you know it very well, or you should. If you're not a communication student, you still know it. Don't worry, it's easy. I'll explain it to you. Simple. When you start thinking about how we communicate and how the communication that we do works, it applies to every field on the planet. When you start thinking about that, you become a better communicator. Your job as someone who's going to speak in public is simply to be a better communicator. So when you start putting all this stuff together, you start going, okay, I can do it. Yeah, this makes sense. This is going to work. Now, the final thing, so all that stuff is here. So we'll have a little chat about it. But I wanted to, oh, here it is. So you had a chance to watch a little bit of this TED Talk with, I don't know how you make it louder.
I should tell you that when I was asked to be here, I thought to myself, well, it's TED, and these TEDsters are, as innocent as that name sounds, these are the philanthropists and artists.
So you did give this a little bit of a watch? So what happens next? What does she do right after this? It's not a test, but what happens next? What does she do? Yeah, before that. Yeah, but no, she doesn't actually speak in this accent at all. So if you missed it, and okay, I understand that some of you maybe didn't watch. It's okay, but you did. So I got it. You did. Ladies, honestly, I don't just put these things in here, and I'm upset if you didn't watch, but you do want to watch some of these things. I put them here, because I like them, and I think they're useful. And believe me, this is the other side. My wife, I told you all about my wife, right? I love my wife. She's one of 28 years married, my wife and I. Can you imagine? 28 years. Whew, how she survived. So I am like 100% dyed in the wool, love TED, been to TED in the United States 3 times in my life. Can you imagine? Like, I'm like the luckiest guy on the planet to have been able to go and sit in that audience. Like, I mean, my wife hates TED. She's like, why would you go to that? It's like a cult. She says, how can you like even listening to those talks? Like, she is totally not a TED person. Whereas I'm like sold on everything TED. It just, I truly, no. So the reason I put these talks here is for 2 reasons. One, I think they always offer us something, and we'll go through pieces of them. 2, talks that you're going to see further on. A lot of them are about 3 or 4 minutes long that I like, that I'm going to show you. They're great examples to copy and how they do them. And that's one of the other things. You don't I said this before, don't copy the words, copy the way. Don't copy the words, copy the way. Try, things that Sarah Jones does might work. Use some of that. That one little thing she does. Use it. You're allowed. And that's part of, but the whole reason for showing this particular talk is to say it's a show and you're allowed to do a show. Now she takes it to the extreme. Let's keep going a little bit more.
And scientists who sort of shape our world. And what could I possibly have to say that could be distinguished enough to justify my participation in something like that? And so I thought perhaps a really civilized sounding British accent might help things a bit. And then I thought, no, I should just get up there and be myself and just talk the way I really talk, because after all, this is the great unveiling. And so I thought I'd come up here and unveil my voice.
She does a one-woman show, so that's where this is all going. Something interesting, I am very much a fan. So here's the thing. I don't think you need to take up, if you're doing a 4-minute speech, you don't need notes. I'm a big fan of having talking points, and I just mean, what's my intro going to be about? And having that potentially in your hand, potentially, but you got to be aware that you're going to do stuff with it. So you got to practice with it. I never have my talking notes in my hand. I usually have them in my pocket because I don't need them. But I am hugely, as you know, I get very nervous. And I'm always nervous. What if I forget? Am I going to forget? I don't know. It would have to be something extraordinary to make me forget, because remember, I've practiced a whole bunch of times. And at least the last 4 practices are with the TV on, preferably playing something really loud. So like Armageddon or something, doing my speech, and I do it on one leg. I know, sometimes I have to hold something. But I do the speech on one leg with something else that's very distracting on, and still do it the way I do it. My foot might come down and I get on the other leg. And you might be going, what? You're like nuts. The whole point is so that I can keep doing the speech as I need to do it with the distraction and keep going. But I still have my points, just in case, always in my pocket. You can do the same. I don't think you need to, if you bring your whole, and this is the thing, someone is going to bring up their whole speech. They're going to put it down and they're going to do it. If you bring up your whole speech, you will read your speech. If you're reading your speech, you haven't prepared enough. You don't, if you're going to read it, that's not a good speech. You shouldn't be reading a speech. That means you need to practice more. I also usually have a full written copy of my speech in the other pocket in case I just die and I have to just get it out and get myself sorted. It never happens, but now the reason I bring that up is Sarah Jones has her speech here. You ready here? We almost got to go too. What do you do? Are you taking a call? So what? You're in a class. Just tell them you're going to be done. I'm not taking any calls. Like my wife could be calling right now saying, husband, I really need to talk to you. It's like, tell him, dude, call him later. It's like, you're in a class. It's like, come on. Like, I put effort into the. So Sarah Jones has got notes. I have watched this talk several times. I'm convinced she's not using the notes on the paper. I think there's some prompts on there or something. And they're well worn. I'm convinced she's not reading them, because I always look at this. Why does she got this? So this, if you haven't watched this, I do want you to watch it. And there's lots of cool stuff in here. This lady is, in particular, is very funny. This is her aunt. Okay, but the one that I really like, and there's, this Yolita, this lady here. So we'll let her finish. Continued success. You can be who you want to be. This is the permission. So then you got Yolita, the college student.
Hi. Thank you, everybody. Sorry, this is such a wonderful opportunity and everything to be here right now. My name is Nareda, and I'm so thrilled to be part of like your TED conference that you're doing and everything like that.
Slow down.
I am Dominican American.
Relax.
I grew up in the capital of the Dominican Republic, otherwise known as Washington Heights, New York City. But I don't know if there's any other Dominican.
So the reason I love this talk is it gives you permission to be who you want to be. You're allowed. The biggest, and that's all in our head. It's like, oh, I don't talk like this, can't do that. Yes, you can. You can do whatever you want. And sometimes talking and role playing in your thing it can be good, but you just got to play with it. And if ever in doubt, have a chat with me. Give me a little preview. And I'm more than willing to have chats, believe me. This talk is fun because she jumps from character to character and she talks in different styles. Again, it's just giving us that permission to experiment with what we're doing. What's your goal? And what's her goal with all of this? People are laughing. That's good. What's your goal? Connect with your audience in that 4 minutes. That's it. Do what you need to do to connect with your audience. Get a little personal, but not too personal. Connect your core ideas with an example or a story. Link them all together. Tell us you're done. Get off the stage. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to next class. So if you haven't watched this, please do watch it. Especially, there's one that's a little bit racy. That's the Chinese lady. A little racy. Skip it if you want. Just skip it. I'll tell you right now. It's kind of racy. The last one I like where she does the Egyptian lady. That's hilarious, that one. I thought that, and it's just like how, you know what you got to do for next class? If you go to week 2 in Blackboard and you're going to see the Spark, all of this is there. We're going to talk about communication process, but you're going to do most of the talking next class. So there we go. Any questions? If you got them, stick around. If not, see you later. Nice to see you in person. Well done, ladies. Great for showing up. Well done. You all